Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. Michelle and I had been married for 5 years. We weren't perfect, but we had built a life together that worked. I bought the house after a string of long cases. She filled it with color, furniture, and little details I never would have chosen on my own. She had a way of softening the sharp edges of my world. Our routines were steady. I handled late nights at the office. She handled the mornings. I kept the bills straight. She kept the place alive. We weren't flashy, but we were stable. Or at least I thought we were. That's why what she said before her trip landed the way it did. Michelle stood by the closet, folding her dresses into a brand new suitcase I hadn't seen before. She hummed lightly, like everything was ordinary. 5 days, just us girls, she said. No work, no stress, no husbands. I leaned on the doorframe, watching her slide sandals into the side pocket. Which hotel did you book? I asked. She zipped the bag shut with a snap. Daniel, you don't need to know that. I frowned. Not even the flight number? Just in case. Her tone turned sharp. It's a girls' trip. The whole point is to get away from everything, including you. I stayed quiet, but she smiled like it was a joke. Don't look at me like that. I'm blocking you while I'm gone. Detox. No calls, no texts. I'll be back before you know it. Blocked. She said it like it was nothing. Like I was supposed to laugh. The next morning, I carried her suitcase down the steps. She kissed me on the cheek, sunglasses already in place. Don't miss me too much, she teased, sliding into the passenger seat. The drive to the airport was silent. She scrolled on her phone, giggling at something Amara had sent. I watched the exits pass, the traffic weaving in and out. When I pulled to the curb, she leaned over and kissed me quickly. See you Friday, she said, grabbing the handle of her suitcase. She didn't look back as she disappeared into the terminal. I stayed there for a moment, watching travelers hurry in and out of the sliding doors. Then I turned the wheel and drove away. Not home, but to my office. Michelle thought she was leaving me behind for 5 days of freedom. She thought blocking me erased my place in her story. But she forgot one thing. I'm a man who lives on details. And the moment she walked into that terminal, her girls' trip became my newest case. By the second day, the cracks had already started to show. Michelle's friend Claudine couldn't resist her phone. She posted photos like it was her job. Poolside drinks, laughing at dinner, dancing in crowded rooms, all tagged with vague captions, "Girls' Night Out," or "Besties Forever." But the backgrounds betrayed her. One shot showed a skyline, not the soft California coast Michelle had claimed. No, this was desert lights, Phoenix. The reflection on the restaurant's glass wall even had the name painted backwards, Sundown Prime. I'd eaten there once on a job. Another photo, a mirror selfie in a hotel lobby, revealed more. Behind Claudine, blurred but clear enough if you knew where to look, sat a man at the bar. Close, comfortable, leaning in toward someone just out of frame. Not a girl's trip. Not the way she'd sold it to me. I pulled the flight manifests. I'd asked Michelle for the airline before she left. She had brushed me off with budget. Don't worry about it. But when I searched every budget flight that morning, her name and her friends' names weren't listed. What I did find was a private charter. Departed the same hour she walked into the airport. Destination, Phoenix. Owner, Dominic Rowe, a venture capitalist with more money than restraint. Married, father of 3. Michelle hadn't flown commercial. She hadn't even flown with the public. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen. To most people, these were coincidences. To me, they were coordinates. Lines connecting faster than she ever expected. The so-called girls' trip was a cover. The plane, the restaurant, the background faces, they all spoke louder than the captions Claudine typed. This time, freezing frames, enlarging reflections, and noting timestamps. Every detail tightened the story. Michelle thought blocking me would blind me, but it only made the noise easier to filter out. The turning point came from a 15-second clip Claudine uploaded late at night. Michelle leaned in close to someone off camera, whispering into his ear. At first, I couldn't see his face, just the edge of his shoulder, the line of his jaw. But sound carries differently when you know what to listen for. I ran the clip through a filter, cleaned up the noise, and isolated the voice. It was him, Ethan Ward, Michelle's ex-fiancé, the man she had once described as her greatest regret. The same man she told me had cheated on her, humiliated her, and left her broken. the one she swore she'd never speak to again. And yet, there she was, leaning into him like no time had passed. I replayed the clip. This time, I caught the words. Michelle's voice, clear in the cleaned audio. "He thinks it's just a cabin." Ethan's reply, a chuckle. "Then let him keep thinking that. He won't check." I sat back, the cursor blinking on my screen. My wife, who told me not to ask questions, who said she'd block me for fun, and smiled as she walked into the airport like nothing was wrong. And now I knew. The trip wasn't just some innocent escape with girlfriends. It was a reunion, a calculated one. I traced Ethan's connections. His name appeared on filings tied to Dominic Rowe's latest projects. Of course, Ethan wasn't a guest. He was part of the inner circle. Dominic provided the jet, the luxury, the cover. Ethan provided the familiarity, the thrill of forbidden history. Michelle hadn't lied casually. She had planned a parallel story where I didn't exist. For me, it wasn't heartbreak. Not anymore. It was clarity. I closed the file with the clip, opened a new folder, and labeled it with her name. Everything from that point forward would go there. Dates, records, screenshots, statements. The trip wasn't over, but Michelle's marriage was. I didn't rage. I didn't pace the room. That's not how I operate. I build, I document, I prepare. The first step was paper. I pulled every record I'd gathered, the charter logs, the hotel registrations in Phoenix, the photos. I arranged them into a timeline. Clean, undeniable. Then I made 3 copies. One for Dr. Helena Rowe, Dominic's wife, a respected oncologist with no clue her husband was spending weekends funding secret parties. I slipped the packet into an unmarked envelope and scheduled its delivery to her private office. The second was for a journalist I trusted. Ethan had always flirted with shady real estate ventures. Now I had proof of misused funds, his name tied to luxury trips hidden under company accounts. I knew exactly who would run the story, and how quickly. The third was for me, not just for closure, but for the next step. At my desk, I drafted an eviction notice and a no-contact order. Michelle's name filled the lines where once I thought it would never belong. I signed them without hesitation. The house was mine before her. It would be mine after. Finally, I called a process server I'd used in past cases. "Discreet," I said. "Clean. Airport delivery." He understood. I could have waited until she came home. I could have let her walk through the front door and confront her then. But no, she needed to feel it where the illusion was strongest. At the airport, where she expected me to greet her with open arms. That's where the truth would meet her. I closed the folder, set it neatly on the corner of my desk, and turned off the light. Michelle thought blocking me gave her freedom. What it really gave her was space. Enough space for me to build the exit she never saw coming. Friday afternoon, I sat in my office chair, screen glowing. I wasn't at the airport. I didn't need to be. The process server had a button camera clipped to his jacket. The feed streamed straight to me. Michelle came out of the gate smiling, her phone in her hand. She was texting me, "Just landed. Can't wait to see you." She had no idea. Behind her trailed the 3 friends. Amara was loud and restless, Claudine was juggling bags and her phone, and Sienna was silent as ever. They looked like women who had lived too large for 5 days. And then Michelle froze. Standing by the arrivals rail was Elodie Mirek, Ethan's current girlfriend. She held a poster board above her head. Nothing fancy, just one blown-up photo. Michelle leaning into Ethan at the blackjack table, his arm around her waist. I saw Michelle's face collapse, the smile gone, the glow stripped. Amara hissed something in her ear. Claudine looked pale. Sienna didn't move at all. Elodie spoke loud enough for the crowd to hear. "Ethan couldn't make it. He's busy explaining this picture to me." The terminal buzz shifted, eyes turning, phones angling to capture the scene. That's when the process server stepped forward. Calm, professional. "Michelle Davis?" She blinked, dazed. "Yes?" He handed her the envelope. "You've been served." Inside, eviction notice. 30 days to leave my house. A restraining order. No contact. Her bags slipped from her hands. She covered her face, shoulders folding inward. The women around her tried to move her along, but it was too late. The moment was burned into every witness's memory and into my camera feed. I leaned back in my chair, watching silently. No shouting, no vengeance, no messy argument. Just order. At the airport where she thought I'd be waiting, she found only the truth. By Monday, I had already filed for divorce. The evidence spoke louder than I ever could. Flight records, hotel receipts, voice analysis, photographs. My attorney told me it was one of the cleanest cases he had seen. We filed under irreconcilable differences, but the documentation ensured the house, assets, and accounts remained mine. Michelle had no leverage, no defense. Her attorney tried to stall, asked for mediation. I rejected it. There was nothing to mediate. She had erased herself from the marriage the moment she boarded that plane. Meanwhile, the shockwaves spread. Dr. Helena Rowe filed for her own divorce from Dominic, moving assets into a trust for her children. Dominic's name was quietly pulled from his firm's masthead. Ethan's face was splashed across the news in articles about shady investments and misuse of funds. His investors walked. Elodie left him. Michelle's friends unraveled too. Amara was dragged into depositions. Claudine vanished offline after her photos became evidence. Sienna disappeared quietly, avoiding the spotlight altogether. And Michelle, she panicked. Emails, messages, new accounts, all begging. Daniel, please, I'll explain everything. We can rebuild. It didn't mean anything. Don't throw us away. I replied only once. Saturday, noon, supervised pickup. After that, speak through counsel. She arrived with a moving truck, red-eyed, trembling, escorted by her lawyer. I didn't open the door. A process server oversaw the exchange. She carried out boxes of clothes, books, and trinkets, escorted like a stranger in the house she once called home. By the end of the month, the divorce papers were signed, stamped, and filed. I kept the house. I kept my peace. She walked away with nothing but her own regret. Michelle's fallback came slowly and without dignity. She moved into a small rental on the far side of town, borrowed money from her sister, and picked up shifts at a boutique store just to stay afloat. The woman who once decorated my guest room now lived out of boxes again. People talked. Some avoided her, others whispered when she walked into the grocery store. Word spread quickly in our circle. She was no longer Michelle, Daniel's wife. She was just Michelle, the woman who blew up her marriage for a man who dropped her the moment the scandal broke. When the court finalized the divorce, my attorney slid the decree across the table to me. The house, the assets, all secure. No spousal support, no contact, clean, final. She sent a letter through her attorney, not through another burner account. 10 minutes. Public place. I agreed. We met at a cafe near the courthouse. She arrived early, hair pulled back, makeup light, hands wrapped tight around a coffee cup she hadn't touched. When she saw me, she straightened like she was bracing for impact. Daniel, she said softly, I don't even know where to start. You don't need to, I replied, sitting across from her. Tears welled in her eyes. It wasn't supposed to go that far. I thought, she stopped, swallowed hard. I thought you'd never check. I let the silence do the work. She fumbled for more words. I was stupid, reckless. Ethan, he meant nothing. I just blocked me, I said evenly. Erased me. She shook her head fast, desperate. No, I didn't erase you. I just needed space. I thought if I set boundaries, you'd... Boundaries don't come with private jets and ex-fiancés. She flinched like the words hit her. For a moment she looked small, like the mask she wore on that trip had finally slipped for good. The table went quiet. People came and went around us, oblivious. I stood, left a bill under my cup, and looked down at her one last time. That was your mistake, Michelle. You thought I wouldn't check. I walked out, and this time I didn't look back. Later, I returned home, filed away the last documents, and closed the folder with her name on it. The house was silent, steady, mine. She said I didn't need to know what happened on her girls' trip. She blocked me like it erased me. But at the airport, she learned what regret really looks like. Thank you for watching. Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I was eating lunch at my desk when it happened. Phone in one hand, half a sandwich in the other, scrolling without much thought. Then I froze. There it was, Laura's latest Instagram post. She was in a bright yellow bikini standing by a pool with a cocktail lifted high. The caption read, "My body, my choice. Girls trip energy only." On the surface, Nothing unusual. But my eyes moved to her sunglasses, big mirrored lenses. In the reflection, I caught it. A man's forearm resting on the pool ledge beside her. On that arm, a black compass tattoo pointing east. Damon, her ex. I zoomed in until the pixels blurred. No mistake. Same ink I'd seen back when she swore he was just a closed chapter. I tapped through her stories. Clips of a boat ride, champagne bottles popping, a quick laugh, his voice. Then another video, Laura with her arm brushing his as they leaned over a plate of oysters. The so-called girls' trip she'd sold me was no such thing. 2 days earlier, she'd left the apartment with a suitcase and a kiss on the cheek. Sabine invited me, she'd said. It'll be all women, just us unwinding. Don't miss me too much. Now I knew the truth. Sabine was there, yes, but so was her boyfriend Lucian, and Damon. I set the sandwich down, untouched. My pulse stayed steady. No yelling, no calls, just clarity. First, screenshots. Every photo, every video, timestamps intact. Second, I listed the things I had personally provided. Her return ticket bought with my miles, the airport car service booked on my card, and the condo key fob tied to my name. All leverage. I opened the airline app, checked her Sunday flight, and marked it for cancellation. A few taps, gone. Next, I removed her from my bank accounts as an authorized user. One more safeguard. She was busy posting empowerment captions while leaning on an old flame. I wasn't about to argue in comments like a fool. I'd handle this my way, measured, documented, final. And for good measure, I sent a message to Nina, her sister. Dinner Sunday night? I'll explain then. Once the decision was made, everything else became execution. I wasn't going to argue with Laura on the phone or through text threads. Words could be twisted, actions couldn't. The first call I made was to the condo concierge, Rita. She picked up on the second ring. Mr. Cross, how can I help? Rita, I need Laura's key fob suspended today. Security precaution. I'll be present for any disputes. Understood. We'll log it and alert the night staff. That was step one. No surprises when she came back. Next, I pulled the deed from my office drawer. Purchased years before I even met Laura. Sole ownership, ironclad. I slid it into a folder with our prenup, another document that suddenly mattered. One clause stood out. Any misuse of joint funds could trigger separation under my discretion. Her charging a luxury trip under the banner of girls only while sneaking her ex along? That fit. By mid-afternoon, I had a vault box storage unit reserved, number 311B. Climate-controlled, secure, access by code only. A neutral place where her belongings would wait, not clogging up my home. I also logged into my accounts and pulled her name off the credit card she occasionally used for emergencies. The kind of emergencies that usually meant clothes or spa treatments. Not anymore. Before closing the laptop, I sent one last message. Not to Laura, but to Nina again. See you Sunday at 6, Italian place on 7th. I'll bring proof. Meanwhile, Laura kept posting. A new story popped up. The group lined up for a sunset toast, glasses raised. And there he was again, Damon, just behind her shoulder, his tattoo catching the light. I didn't flinch. I just tapped save, locked my phone, and went back to work. Every step I took was quiet, deliberate. I wasn't planning revenge. I was setting boundaries. She made her choice on that trip. I would make mine here. Sunday came fast. I'd arranged to meet Nina at Rinaldi's, a small Italian spot with enough privacy for a serious talk. 6 o'clock sharp, I was already at the table with a folder beside me. Screenshots, receipts, timelines. Nina arrived right on time. She looked puzzled. Jeremy, what's this about? You sounded formal. Sit. I'll show you. I slid the phone across. The bikini post. The reflection. The stories. Damon's tattoo visible in 3 separate clips. Nina's eyes widened. Are you kidding me? She told me it was a girls-only getaway. She even sent me a screenshot of the group chat. She lied to both of us, I said flatly. Before Nina could respond, my phone buzzed on the table. Laura. I let it ring. 30 seconds later, another call. Then another. I finally answered. Jeremy, my flight isn't valid. The app says canceled. What did you do? I didn't do anything to you, Laura. I canceled a ticket I paid for. This isn't funny. I'm stranded at the gate. You're not stranded. You're at an airport. Buy a ticket. Her tone flipped instantly. Listen, Damon being here is not what it looks like. Don't insult me, I cut her off. Nina leaned forward, whispering, "Put her on speaker." I tapped the button. Nina's voice rang clear. "Laura, stop lying. I'm sitting with Jeremy. I saw the photos. You dragged Damon along and hid it from everyone." The line went silent, then filled with curses. Laura hung up. Seconds later, texts started pinging. "You're overreacting. Please call me back. My phone's dying. I don't have cash for another flight." Then, "This is emotional abuse. Answer me now." Nina stared at the stream of messages. She's unraveling. I've never seen her this reckless. It was close to midnight when I got the first alert from the building system. Laura's fob had been denied at the entrance. A minute later, the intercom buzzed. I didn't answer. 10 minutes passed, then came pounding at the glass doors downstairs. Rita, the concierge, called me directly. "She's demanding entry, Mr. Cross. Should I escalate?" "Yes. Keep the cameras rolling. I'll be down in 5. Eric, the night security guard, was already standing between Laura and the locked entrance. She was in travel clothes, makeup smeared, voice raised. "Jeremy, open the damn door. This is my home too." I stepped forward, calm. "No, Laura. It's my home. You don't live here anymore. You can't just decide that." "I can. The lease and deed are in my name. Your belongings will be transferred to a storage unit tomorrow. You'll get the code by email." Her face twisted. "This is illegal. I'll call the police." "Please do. They'll tell you the same thing I just did." Laura tried another angle. Her voice softened, almost pleading. "Jeremy, come on. You're blowing this out of proportion. Damon was just part of the group. Nothing happened. Laura, you told me it was a girls' trip. You lied. Over and over. That's enough." She slammed her fist against the door. Eric stepped forward. "Ma'am, you need to calm down. If you don't leave, we'll have to involve law enforcement." Right on cue, flashing lights cut across the street. A patrol car pulled up. Rita must have called them when things escalated. 2 officers approached. I explained calmly. "Documents ready." One nodded. "Civil matter. She needs to coordinate with you outside the building. If she refuses, we'll ask her to leave." Laura's shoulders sagged. She spat one last line. "You'll regret this." Then she stormed off into the night. I turned to Eric. "Thank you. Please log everything." He nodded. "Already done." I went back upstairs, locked the door, and opened my laptop. An email draft waited. "Laura, your belongings will be moved to Vault Box 311B tomorrow afternoon. Pickup instructions will follow. Do not return to this residence." I hit send. Clean, simple, final. By morning, Laura had switched tactics. Her Instagram was full of tearful selfies and captions about escaping controlling men and finding strength after emotional abuse. She painted herself as a victim, abandoned in a strange city with no support. I didn't comment. I didn't have to. Others did it for me. Zoe, one of Laura's friends, sent me a direct message. She told me it was girls only. "Why do I see Damon in the background?" I replied with 3 screenshots. No commentary, just facts. 10 minutes later, Zoe left Laura's comments thread and posted her own cryptic line. "Accountability matters." The dominoes started to fall. By noon, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. "Mr. Cross? This is Carolina, assistant manager at Lakeview Resort. I need clarification. Charges were made to your card ending in 1412 for private charters and tastings. But when it failed, Miss Laura attempted to move the charges onto another guest's room, a Damon R. He's now disputing. She doesn't have authorization on my accounts anymore, I said, and I never approved transferring charges. That's all I needed, Carolina replied. We'll document accordingly. Meanwhile, Damon himself posted a photo, shirtless, sunglasses on, arm around a woman I didn't recognize. The caption, "Better company, better weekend." Laura's name wasn't mentioned, but anyone who compared timelines could put the pieces together. By evening, Laura's posts had fewer likes and more skeptical comments. Questions about Damon, screenshots of her girls' trip caption versus the reality. I didn't need to say a word. The truth was working its way through her own circle. I forwarded the entire exchange to my attorney, Thomas Reed. Within the hour, he drafted and sent Lara a separation notice, itemized property list, legal boundaries, all communication to go through his office. No gray areas. That evening, Nina called me, voice heavy with frustration. She said I was siding with you against my own sister. You didn't choose sides, Nina. She did that herself. I just kept things clean. Nina sighed. She's burning bridges faster than she can build excuses. The next morning, Lara tried a new angle. A Fund Me Now page went live with her face plastered on it. The description: abandoned by my controlling husband, left in a foreign place, I need help rebuilding. The goal? $15,000. It picked up $63 before the comments turned hostile. Screenshots of Damon in her reflection. Carolina's post about unpaid resort bills. Zoe linking old messages about the girls-only trip. The page was suspended by the platform for verification less than 24 hours later. The more she tried to spin, the more the truth bled through the cracks. She wasn't gaining sympathy. She was losing credibility. And for the first time in months, I slept straight through the night. By the end of the week, Lara's world was crumbling. Damon went public with his new girlfriend, posting smiling pictures from the same lake. He blocked Lara entirely. That didn't stop him from forwarding messages, texts where she begged him to make Jeremy jealous and laughed about keeping me in the dark. Zoe sent me screenshots too. Months earlier, Lara had bragged, testing limits. If Jeremy buys the story, I know I've got him. Zoe added a short note. You deserve better. Then Carolina, the resort manager, emailed me directly. Attached was an invoice with Lara's signature authorizing over $2,000 in add-ons. She had tried to push the charges onto Damon's room, then onto mine, neither with permission. Carolina's note was blunt. This will be pursued legally if unpaid. I forwarded it straight to Thomas Reed. The family got involved next. Nina and their parents confronted Lara in a group call I wasn't part of, but later heard about. The verdict was simple: counseling, apologies, repayment, or no support. That's when Lara tried her last card. It was past midnight when my phone buzzed with a new number. Jeremy, it's me. I'm pregnant. It's yours. We need to talk. I didn't respond right away. In the morning, I forwarded it to Thomas. His reply was immediate. She knows about your medical file. The infertility diagnosis makes her claim impossible. This is a bluff. We'll demand medical verification if she presses. I stared at the message and felt nothing but relief. Later, Nina called. She told Mom the same thing. When they asked for proof, she hung up. Classic, I said. She's out of moves, Jeremy. She doesn't realize it yet, but she is. The bluff failed. The lies caught up. And for the first time, her family wasn't shielding her. She vanished from social media soon after. No more posts, no more captions about freedom or victimhood, just silence. A month later, I'd cleared out the vanity Lara had claimed as her own and turned it into a small gym with a desk in the corner. No slammed doors, no endless arguments over imagined slights. Just silence. The kind that lets you think. Nina stopped by one evening. She's cut off, Jeremy. Mom and Dad told her no more help until she proves she's serious about changing. I don't think she will. Not my concern anymore, I said. Nina gave a sad smile. You handled this better than anyone expected. Thank you for not dragging the family through mud. Meanwhile, my own life opened up. At the gym downstairs, I met Liza, an architect with a sharp wit and her own place across town. We started with coffee, then dinner. She laughed when I told her parts of the story. Jeremy, the bar is underground and some people are still bringing shovels, she said. One night, scrolling, I saw a post from someone else at that same lake resort. A photo of the pool with a caption, choose your choices, own your bill. I couldn't help but smirk. The title of Lara's post had been bold. My body, my choice. She thought it meant freedom without consequence. For me, it meant something different. My home, my choice. I chose peace, and I wasn't about to give it up again. Thank you for watching.